Good afternoon to everyone. My name is Vasilka Dimitrovska. I come from Skopje. I'm presenting Haimus. I would like to thank to the organizer, the committee of the Prometheus project, for inviting me to be part of this exciting journey you're having these 2 years. And also, I'm very thankful for all the people who are present at this event. Well, I must say that my presentations are very dynamic, so you have to watch them very carefully because they are very quick, they are very expressive, and my intention is to give you an overview about interpretation, storytelling, and gamification, how I'm doing it through the Haimus and my personal work, and somehow to inspire you, all of you, to include it in your work. So, the title of my presentation is Communicating Heritage Values through the Interpretation, Storytelling, and Gamification. And first, I would like to present myself. I'm an archaeologist, Master of Science. I'm consultant, I'm educator, heritage manager. Since recently, I'm certified interpretive trainer by Interpret Europe. But at the same time, just like many of you, I wear many hats. I'm a creative director of Haimus, Center for Scientific Research and Promotion of Culture based in Skopje. I'm a national coordinator for Macedonia on behalf of Internet Europe. Since last year, I created Storytelling Skopje, special educative interpretive gamified program as a way to directly to connect the heritage values with the visitors. And this year, I've upgraded into a Storytelling Macedonia. So, the schedule of presentation is that I will briefly talk about heritage interpretation, then about the storytelling, then about the gamification, then I will cover study cases from my personal experience, and then it's going to be FAQ questions, as I understood, for all of us. So, we saw different types of presentation today, from the scientific research to visitor centers, like the archaeological park of Viminacium. So the question is, how do we create immersive heritage experiences that effectively communicate with people? People can be public, audience, attendees at some event. Well, anyhow, according to my really vast experience, I find 3 ingredients which are very important. And these are heritage interpretation, storytelling, and gamification. So I will start with heritage interpretation. I don't know how many of you are introduced actually with the concept and with the methodology and tools of heritage interpretation, but it's going to be, I think, a revelation for you if you know the fact that actually heritage interpretation started somewhere at the end of the 50s of the 20th century from the national parks of the United States of America, and still heritage interpretation, its strongest part lies into interpreting the natural heritage. Then it replicated on a cultural heritage. So when we obtain archaeological evidence, like you do, epigraphical documents and so on, we get an information from them, but that information is a scientific fact, and it's not an interpretation. Interpretation is something which is based on that fact, but actually it enhances all senses to the visitors. Well, let me wrap it. When people ask me, Vasilka, what is a heritage interpretation? I usually say that it's a concept methodology, which is in the same time educational, communicational. It goes beyond the management, but most of all, it communicates the heritage values with people, inspiring them on a deeper meaning in order to preserve or to conserve the heritage for the future generation. To translate in our language, heritage interpretation is a translation tool which we use to translate the language of the science to language which ordinary people can understand and identify the heritage with them. If you want to know about the heritage interpretation much more, which I really want to offer you as one way how to disseminate the scientific knowledge to the public, then you can go to the website of Interpret Europe. You will find all everywhere this triangle. Trust me, it looks very simple. You have interpreter, participants, and heritage on each side, but actually there's like 1,000 things going on behind this triangle. The very basic interpretive approach lies in these four aces of interpretation: turning phenomena into experience, offering path to different meanings, fostering stewardship for all heritage, and provoking resonance and participation. In the same time, the interpreter should send a universal message to provide a first-hand experience, to tell the story impressively, or I would say immersively, and to shape the message we want to send. Yeah, it's simple, but actually it's not. Keep in mind that heritage interpreter is a profession by itself. It doesn't come with academic title. It doesn't come with museum title. It's a non-formal education which comes with a direct work with thousands of people in the field. And then as feedback, you get a privilege to implement all this methodology. So how this methodology is important shows the recent case of partnership with UNESCO and Interpret Europe. Actually, the partnership started a couple of years ago. This year really was very intense when UNESCO officially published that they are practically implementing the concept of heritage interpretation, which is the basis of all interpretive courses and training by Interpret Europe, and it's included in its core mission. You can go on Interpret Europe website, just through search, browse through this very well-structured program. Keep in mind that some of these, especially the first three trainings, are 40 working hours with a lot of exercise and with a mentorship of half to 1 year, doing more and more exercise in order to delve deeply into a heritage interpretive methodology. Well, anyhow, now this is a very short video, which I cut it from a bit longer video from UNESCO YouTube, but I think that you will catch the glimpse how much the heritage interpretation is a gift from the universe. So the UNESCO is implementing in its value core mission. Okay, so now the other part of the coin. On the General Assembly of the ICOM, that's the International Council of Museums with a headquarters in Paris, which completely connect and interconnect every type of museum in the world, in Krakow in 2023. I think first time for 50 or after 50 or 60 years, the definition of the museums was changed. This is a screenshot from their social media where I underlined the words which were added to this new redefinition or definition of museums. And these are interprets, inclusive, sustainability, participation of communities. Keeping all of these in mind, when we started our project, we are always thinking about how to implement the basics, at least, of heritage interpretation. So Haemus, since 2018, made a partnership with Pivara Skopje AD or Skopje's Breweries AD, which is probably one of the biggest Southeastern European companies, and invests also a lot of into heritage and culture. So we've passed a couple of phases with consulting, scientific research, documentations, and so on. But when we entered into phase 2, which was 2022, when the company actually celebrated 100 years of its existence, they required for us foundation and consulting of their experience center. Actually, that is the unofficial museum of Pivara Skopje, AD. And we were very happy that at least the very basic methodology of heritage interpretation was implemented. So if anybody wants to know what we are doing now about heritage storytelling of the company and how the company actually is communicating its 100 years values, which did into investing in heritage and the culture, can go on their website or their social media. Can just type the hashtag Haemus, and it will reveal a lot of articles, because actually now what we are doing is trying to wrap it up, everything what they have, into a story which they communicate with the audience in the digital world. So these are some photos of this newly born Museum of Pivara Skopje. Our partnership is still ongoing. We are their consultants. But down there on the right side of this 3-floor facility, practically the visitors goes in a -1 level, when they can actually make a beer by themselves, choose ingredients, make the amounts and proportions, brew a beer, and then drink it. So it's very fun, very engaging, but also it's very educational. It's an experience they will never forget. Well, anyhow, now a bit about the storytelling. We all know about the storytelling. We grew up with all these stories. The stories are told to us from the moment we are born. Then in our life, we are telling story to other people. We are telling story all day long, by a coffee with our friends or during the conference. We watch, we create stories, digital stories on the internet. So don't be fooled that these social platforms are very clever when they announce Instagram story and Facebook story. So you can really digitally shape a story for your audience. Well, but anyhow, trust me that in my life, I've seen only a couple of people who are born storytellers. These are like 1 in a million. When they go in the room, they light the room, everybody wants to listen to them. The other people can be storytellers in training. And the thing is that storytelling, just like heritage interpretation, is a form of art, but every art is teachable to some degree. So first, you choose the way how you communicate your story. It's going to be oral, visual, written, or digital. Anyhow, you must be really introduced with 5 C's of storytelling, how to captivate the audience. A circumstances, curiosity, character, conversation, and mainly conflict. There is no story without a conflict. And a few storytelling tips for heritage sector from my personal experience is that when you tell a story, to be as much as personal, be informal but expert, to tell the hidden stories, because we all know stories about great characters or archaeological sites or monuments and so on, but try to find or to peel some hidden layer so you can also peel their curiosity. Illustrate your points, be specific, and be evocative. And now, the fun part, the gamified approach. Well, I know that you are all familiar with this game. Most of us played since we were kids. That's Don't Get Angry Men, originally a German game from the 70s of the 20th century. In the Balkans, it is known as Neljutice Čoveče. But anytime when you try to implement a gamified approach to your project, to your event, to whatever you do, you have to get back when you were a kid and try to understand why actually what was exciting for you to play some game, to maintain playing, and when you finish to play it again and again and again and again. And now I have a small task for you, because you are all day by your computer in front of the screens. So please pick one set of words that best describes gamification for you. Just, it can be one word or can be several words. Just type it in the screen. Please, I will give you, I don't know, 1 minute if there is an answer, because I'm in this presenting mode. Dragana, I will ask Dragana to read them. But actually, what do you think? What gamification is? Actually, when we implement into a heritage sector, what should represent? What words just pop up on your mind?
Elena says puzzle.
Yes.
For me, treasure hunt.
Yes.
You can write, if others have suggestions, you can write it down so that perhaps we can use them later to make a word cloud or something like that.
Yes. Thank you very much. Yes. We can also get back to them in the FAQ session. But anyhow, in generally, these are the responses I usually get. A competition, a strategy, a sport, a challenge, a team reward, problem solving, where actually it is somehow the puzzles fits in. But yet, learning, imagination, fun, carefree, art, family time. All of this and much more actually is a gamification. So keep all of these in mind when you want to implement any type of gamification in the project you're working with. So now a couple of projects where we actually joined all of these I am talking about. Since 2013, HAEMUS as an organization joined in that time the ongoing application about Martinki or Martenica or Martiš or Martis. That's an intangible heritage practice in many parts in the Balkans. And it was required for us to be legal safeguardian in order for them to proceed. This application is in UNESCO, because if you don't know, but there is no application in UNESCO about intangible cultural heritage without a grassroots organization who is actually protecting and promoting that heritage. So we started with the organization of an annual manifestation, Grandma March Day, which was like at the beginning couple of hours, and then at the end, after 10, 11 years, it grew up into a several day manifestation with more than 10,000 visitors per event. But our events are really complex. They grew up a lot, but what we offer, actually, it's a first-hand experience where people actually can make Martinka or do whatever they want within this context, a visualization, interpretation, interaction, and mostly transmission, which people gladly share with us. We do have a lot of testimonials from local community. Yet we do have educational panels in several languages, especially where this custom is practicing. Exhibition of handmade amulets, again, from 4 countries, bazaar of handmade marketing, creative workshop for children, always, and live performance of making amulets by different artisans. So for everything what we've done, actually, we received a lot of awards, but mostly we were included in a very important manual by Interpret Europe in 2020, Fostering Communities Through Heritage Interpretation, where our 10-year work was included as an excellent example of implementing directly heritage interpretation within the local community. Of course, some of the awards we got was for the best European heritage story because we shaped the way how actually we deal with ordinary people. And we are very happy because we received a really big grant, which led us to make more interpretive tools like coloring books, illustrative books on many languages. The video, you can see it on our YouTube channel, also translated in several languages, animated video for people, for children up to 12 years, and so on and so on. So our educational project, which engaged really heritage interpretation, gamification, and especially storytelling, is Skupini Romani. Skupini Romani was inspired by the archaeological site of Skopje, who is literally on 5 kilometers from the city center of Skopje. But actually, I was mostly inspired when I stepped for the first time in Viminacium. I vividly remember that time, that October 2012, and it was a revelation for me. I stepped and I felt in love in Viminacium itself, but mostly in the concept of everything what they are doing over there. So with the time, I got back a lot of times in Viminacium on scientific conferences, just visiting them or be a part and helping them in different type of events, especially in ancient Roman festivals. This is how, for the first time, I was introduced with something what is a live interpretation or historical reenactment. And I was thinking to implement on a smaller scale this in Skopje or in general in Macedonia. And the revelation was when I bumped up into a Roman tombstone, which tells a story like a Hollywood plot in the lobby of the Archaeological Museum of Macedonia, but mostly when our colleague Lenca Jovanova, which unfortunately left us last year, published her book Inventaria Archaeologica Personarum. This is really bringing heritage in life. She did a fantastic job translating these epigraphical monuments into stories from which you can literally make a movie plot. This was some sort of inspiration, so I've started to shape the idea of Skupini Romani, which literally means the citizens of the ancient city of Skopje. We got even this logo, which is proved by our Heritage Protection Office under the Ministry of Culture for commercial uses. But anyhow, this is one of the first sets we've done, and it took me a lot of time. First, to teach the colleagues, these are our colleagues from heritage sector, how to behave with the live interpretation, with the costumes and so on. And also it requires a lot of time with this photo agency to teach them what kind of the outcome I want from these photos. So in order for them, even after 10 or 20 years, to tell a visual story about Skupini Romani. So I was really lucky that my idea came in line with one very big ancient Roman festival where at the end of 2016, meaning that it took me almost 4 years from my initial idea to the first festival. We've done it in Skopje with the support of EXARC, Experimental Archaeology and Open Air Museum Network, and of course, my beloved archaeological park Viminacium. You can see even Jelena here in the middle. Most of the photos and videos, you can see it on Heim's website and especially on Facebook gallery. I just browsed it through the Facebook, Heim's Facebook photos, and there is a gallery of more than 500 photos. But what we did is really we engaged not only the local community and artisans, but also our colleagues, the visitors, and so on. So this concept is really based on food, because we know how to prepare it. We do have now 50 to 20 costumes from the ancient Roman, inspired from the ancient Roman period, a lot of accessories, pottery, jewelry, and so on. Different types of the games, souvenirs, but mostly what we do is wherever we are organizing an event, we are engaging a local community. So as heritage managers, we are not the ones who should put clothes on us. We've created. It's the local community who lives nearby some archaeological site or remains from the ancient Roman period to identify themselves, to get known their own local heritage so they can understand it very deeply on a very meaningful and acceptable way for them in order to implement different types of the strategy to protect it for some future, promote it and protect it for some future generation. So here are some events we did it: Saturnalia, Rosalia, Vinalia Rustica. With Saturnalia, we work with in Skopje with local artists, in Rosalia with the City Museum of Vinica, in Vinalia Rustica with a local poet society in Kavadarci. Actually, we've opened, I remember this grape harvesting festival in Kavadarci. We also did a challenge and went into an international festival, Nika, the Game and the Victory, as a guest of the organizers at the Archaeological Park in Nicopolis at Istrum, near Veliko Trnovo in Bulgaria. But anyhow, to wrap it up, Skupini Romani is an educational program which literally bring in life the Roman heritage. But if you don't have an intangible element and stories, practically it is just an exhibition. To put all the program into a movement, you need people, but you need a trained people. And this is why I stopped for several years to organize any kind of the event with Skupini Romani, because I wanted the colleagues from Haimus, the colleagues from museums, local communities, the stakeholder to be introduced at least with the basics, how heritage interpretation works, so we can run all these events. And of course, you can see these letters. It's always start with the scientific research. Whatever you do, you can't skip the scientific research and research and research. And when you go a step later and you start, then again, you get back to the basics. Again, more and more scientific research. Then, for this kind of the events, you need a script. Yes, they are meant for the visitors, maybe for the tourists, for educational purpose. But you need a script, and sometimes you need a lot of time to organize and to manage this script. And then the costume designs, you can't miss the period because you will be very funny. Then to train the artisans for the workshop to bring these crafts in life. Then you need interpretive and storytelling tools for the participatory approach by the public and by the visitors. And then you can have a PR and marketing, and you have your running program. For me, it took 4 years. So it's challenging, but it is really, really rewarding. So as a project of excellence, which shows excellence in certain aspects of interpretation, also Skupini Romani was listed as one of the projects in the Interpret Europe manual about heritage interpretation. So we stepped a little bit further with Haimus, and I thought that it will be good then to teach local communities on different aspects of heritage interpretation so they can really use it literally daily in whatever they do. And we started to organize a lot of interpretive trainings, workshops, and lectures, mostly, but these are supported by some European project, as you can see here. But also we did some with the local partners or stakeholders, different programs, different training, different lectures, different topics within the heritage interpretation. And at the end, we came up with our services, modules, and courses. You can browse through the Haimus website. Some of them we are running by ourselves. For some of them, we are partnering with Interpret Europe for the modules which are really, really requiring. So the last part of the presentation, how I came up with the idea to mix the interpretation, storytelling, and gamification all together. So during the years, we were making a lot of these educational tours and experiences with Hymus, mostly for the International Museum Day, partnering with some museum. And we tended for them to be some sort of an experience where we got participation from the audience and, of course, feedback from them. And, of course, the best feedback you can get, actually, it is from kids, from children, because they are very dynamic. They're very open-minded, they're very honest. And if you don't catch their attention at the beginning of the event, you're going to lose them forever. They won't listen, they won't participate, they will feel bored. So they are a pretty responsive target group on which you can really base how you're shaping your project or events. And I tend to think that if you make information available for children, then everyone is going to understand the heritage story. Well, anyhow, because we are working a lot with children from elementary and high school, a couple of years ago, I've created this educational platform. You can go on Hymus website and you can see what we are doing. We do have like 15 publications, I think, so far by now, interactive sets, workshop, and educational tours. And then in the last couple of years, somehow we were part of several Erasmus Plus projects, sometimes as a partner, sometimes as a stakeholder, and it was required from us to do these educational fun tours with the gamified elements. We have a lot of them. As a result of this project, we have videos. I will show you one video. It's very short, which is a result of one of these projects. But if you go on Hymus YouTube channel, you can just go Young Explorer, this list, and you can see most of these videos. So actually what you see here is me less talking, more facilitating the experience, and the kids were actually the one who were exploring, talking, and communicating with themselves in order to discover a lot of things. So just a few studies from my own experience to give you a glimpse what you can do when you mix heritage interpretation, gamification, and storytelling. And this was not enough for me, what we are doing with Hymus. So I tried to steal a time and to create something what is really meaningful, to bring heritage in life, but directly to ordinary people, to visitors who loves really and wants to identify with some aspects of different types of the heritage. So in 2023, after 2 years of creating and shaping and thinking, I launched Storytelling Skopje program, which is actually an educational interpretive program with a lot of gamified elements, a lot of adventure, treasure hunt, experiences, and so on. This is a list of some of them. But what do I tend is actually more to facilitate to the interpretive and storytelling to these adventures and experience. So for people can have a hands-on experience, delve deep into the heritage itself. And sometimes even I have this kind of the adventure way when visitors or the attendees actually become the content by themselves within the storyline. One of the most secret ingredients I have are the handmade props. I'm very grateful that I have this gift from the universe. So I draw, I illustrate, and I also handmade all of these props. They tend to connect the audience directly with the heritage. And sometimes I need 10 to 15 props, and it's a requiring, but also very rewarding job. And for some of these experiences, it can take me, I don't know, 3 up to 6 months from the moment when the idea came up to the moment of the post-production and actually working directly with people. This kind of the events, educational events, are tended for everyone. For families, for elementary, high school, for friends, team building with the companies. I have very often tourists are also welcome because I did do them in English and in Macedonian, but mostly, certainly that heritage interpretation, gamification, and heritage interpretation can be mixed up and used in tourism, where it's really welcome. And as I said, tourists are really welcome. But in generally, my educational events are actually event where I research, then I make complete scenario, meaning that these are not a ordinary touristic tour. Then I design dozens of props. My storytelling must be very strong, otherwise I can't captivate the audience. Anyone who tend to organize this kind of events must have really very strong communication skill. Then you have to implement participatory approach or by the visitors, local community, tourists, visitors in museum, whatever I do. And in the same time, they have to be educational and engaging. And then if you keep all of these elements, then you can run a program. So I tend to believe that my adventures and experiences, except strong storytelling, are like a live board game or outdoor escape room. And they practically, in the concept, comprise of everything what I've said in this presentation about the gamification. But most of all, the people are surprised. There is a revelation moment, and by the feedbacks and reviews they leave on the internet, especially on TripAdvisor page, I see that actually they understood the heritage very deeply, and they brought with them the knowledge, especially from Skopje, just like my logo. Plant a memory, bring home seeds, about the heritage. And Jelena said it about Cheerleaders VR. I just want to cover it a little bit, this Creative Europe project, but also Hymus as an organization is engaged, but also I was very lucky to be a main consultant of the whole project. And it is about the 5 female rulers and their stories in Middle Ages, which we try to dig it up and to shape it within 2 products, which are outcome of this project. This is the AR experience, meaning a mobile application, which will be available very soon, and the VR experience, where especially, for example, the people in Skopje can enter into the royal palace which existed at the Skopje fortress, go through the palace with the gamification elements, solve some tasks and so on, and through the game and entertainment, learn a lot about the local heritage. And as always, like Skupini Romani, my research actually started from the tombstone, which is supposed to belong to Maria Paleologina, who came to live at the palace in Skopje. And I think that this is a perfectly packed project. We are very all proud of it. But yeah, this was not enough for me. And I went one step further. Currently, I'm by the end. I'm creating a special adventure, Time Travel with Queen Maria, a gamified journey to the Middle Ages. So we do have the digital story in the digital world, but now I'm transferring the story into a real world at the Skopje fortress, where actually the things are happening and happened in the past, where people through the educational adventure practically will see bringing in life the heritage from the ancient Roman period. And somewhere here we are at the end of this presentation. For anyone who is challenged by the topics about heritage interpretation, storytelling, and gamification, there's like 1,000 of online resources, and I would gladly share with anyone interested in. So please, you can find me on all social media, including my official working email. And here is the end of the presentation. I would like to thank you. You've been very brave to watch my presentation all this time. And I do hope that I inspired you to use some of these tools in your work.